So is there a technique to starting?
No, there's no technique to any of this. Any of tattoo, it is don't go too deep,
Okay.
but don't go not deep enough, and don't go too slow, but also don't go too fast.
Welcome to the Gathered Arts Podcast. I'm Cass, and that's Kat. We're going to sit down with our creative community and chat about life as artists while Lee paints a portrait of our lovely guest.
I'm Kyle. I born in Toronto, Ontario. I'm a tattoo artist full-time, and I've been creating art since I was a child, of course.
Nice. Talking a bit more of your career and kind of how this life as a tattoo artist all started. Could you tell us a bit of your experience of how you got into this industry?
I was pretty good at drawing as a kid. I looked at tattoo artists as something I'd like to possibly do, but I didn't think I was good enough to do it. So I gave up drawing around end of middle school because I didn't get into the art school I wanted and focused on music for a long time. And later in my life, when I was in my early 20s, I started getting tattoos, and I wanted to get cooler tattoos, and I was looking into designing my own. And I realized, this isn't so hard. I could learn to do this. So I started on a journey of self-education. I exhausted all the free resources I could, learned on YouTube, put a portfolio together. I went and got tattooed by people and asked advice of them. That helped a lot. And eventually applied for an apprenticeship and got it and graduated the apprenticeship 2022 and then I was able to fully sustain myself on my art just about a year ago.
Nice.
That's a good trajectory.
Thanks.
Like a few years in between learning and then being able to sustain yourself. Yeah.
How was that apprenticeship like from your experience? Because I know that's a...
To call it an apprenticeship, I think, is disingenuous.
Okay.
The word
That's interesting.
like in any other industry, apprenticeship has like a body that oversees it, maybe an institution that is able to measure it and ensure a level of quality or a proper like normalized set of standards in an industry with people who are recognized like with tattoos, there's none of that. You just have people who are in the industry and then people who aren't. And there's no institution to oversee any of it. There's no level of quality check. Health and safety everywhere I've been tattooed has been like completely different.
Yeah.
Like I learned so many things after my full apprenticeship was over about what we were doing wrong.
That's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
It's the Wild West out there.
It was more teach yourself than anything else. We got some good advice here and there, but it seems like pretty standard course for any tattoo apprenticeship. There are some really dark stories other people have that like pale in comparison to ours. Like our old mentor would always be smoking weed or doing drugs all the time. He would talk about like tattooing when he was on mushrooms, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Older heads that we've talked to have been like their mentors made them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's way more intense than I was expecting.
Yeah. Or like, go clean my house, go take my kids to school, mow my yard for years before they're even allowed to pick up a machine. So yeah. I got out okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. It's such a tough industry to get into, and it's so sought after. So I think that's why, since there's so many people like trying to get in, it's very easy to take advantage of those people because like they'll do anything to kind of like get started, basically.
Is there only like the only route to get to a tattoo artist and be freelance is to do an apprenticeship?
No. The only thing keeping someone from being a tattoo artist is if people will give them money for tattoos. If you are self-taught and in your house and you have a machine that you got on Amazon, like certain people will say you can't call yourself a tattoo artist, but they have no authority. There's no one checking what they're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're doing tattoos, you can call yourself a tattoo artist. It's a very gatekeepy industry.
Yeah,
but
I can
for
see
no
that.
reason. I mean, for health and safety purposes, it should be a little bit.
I was gonna say maybe there should be a little more reason.
Probably should be.
Yeah, I guess going off topic from this a little bit. I know you have quite a distinct style that you've created for yourself. I unfortunately don't have any tattoos by you. I'm sorry.
I do. It's here.
How would you describe your style?
So it's I pretty much exclusively do stippled work.
Stippling?
Yeah, all stippled work. I stick to pretty natural subjects, plants, animals, insects. I only use, when I draw on paper, I use a 0.1 black pen, Staedtler, that's it, on paper.
Okay.
And it helps with simplifying when I limit my tools, I find. It helps a lot with, especially when you translate to tattoos. Your illustrations have to be much simpler. Things won't translate to skin. It's a very, very finicky. It's like the worst medium for art. It's so to draw a single straight line, I think, is easier than any other medium. There's just so many more factors compared to, like, say what I use, pen on paper, felt tip pen on paper. There's like not much going on. You can push really hard. You can push not that hard. Line's going to be the same thickness, basically.
Right.
You can move your hand slower. You can move your hand fast. Or versus, say, like painting. You guys paint. You have to have a bit more control with pressure and with how much like paint is in the brush. And then tattooing, another level past that, you have to work on your depth, but you're talking fractions of a millimeter of margins of error. You have to have the correct voltage. You have to have the right hand speed. You have to have the right amount of ink in the cartridge. You have to have steady hand. Your canvas is moving.
Yeah.
And
breathing.
It's a person. It's three-dimensional.
I mean, you're not really selling this much for people who are kind of on the fence.
I don't know.
I feel like you really need that passion, though. If you're going to be a tattoo artist, you need to like know you're going to be a tattoo artist. Am I wrong?
It's hard. And a lot of people just give up even when they really wanted to, when they get in and realize how much work it is. Yeah. To do work, because I mean, as artists, a lot of us don't like what we create or are very critical of what we create.
Yes.
Like I'm very much like that. I hate most of what I do. And in tattoos, I feel like it took me a good year or two until I had a tattoo I was actually proud of and liked. Yeah. So if you're impatient and don't want to like go through create, like, a lot of drawing is creating a lot of bad drawings and making one good drawing.
It's about practice.
Yeah.
You have
to make a lot of bad tattoos before you do a good tattoo.
Yeah, 100%.
So many.
Yeah. With your style, do you think it was an important part for your growth to like hone and like pick one thing?
Yeah, I didn't really experience growth until I decided to focus on a niche. I kind of skirted the outskirts of many different styles over time. I did music for the longest time. That didn't really pan out the way, I don't know. That's different. That's a very difficult industry. But finding a style with tattoos is what led to me being able to sustain myself off of it. Right. Without that, I would have been just I don't know, just desperate, just trying to hope someone would want to get a tattoo from me. Right. Whereas when you have a brand, people will have something that they want from you. Right. If you have no brand, people won't be able to decide what they want to get from you.
You mentioned focusing a lot on like natural elements and animals. Where did that stem from?
I enjoyed drawing bugs and animals and plants. At the first drawing course I took, it kind of went from lines to shapes to 3D objects. Okay. Plants, insects, animals, objects. And then eventually I could learn people if I wanted, but I haven't really been excited as much about drawing people, figures, portraits. Yeah, that's insects fair. And animals was just that's what I enjoy drawing. And I figured out a way to sell it, which worked out.
That's an important part.
Yeah, I think just the fact that that's what I want to draw is what I'm going to draw a lot of. That's what I got better in. Yeah. I think you have to. There's a positive feedback loop of when you're creating art. If you don't get enough positive out of creating it, then you're not going to want to continue doing it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The most important thing for me, at least, was drawing more. That's what led me to success. Yeah. Not what limited success.
Yeah. Was it weird having to sell your work? Because I know, at least for me, when I first started as an artist, I didn't realize that there was so much like business behind it and like basically a self-business. Yeah. Like, I'm curious if that was something you expected and if you struggled with that in any way.
I struggled with it. But not in like, I struggled to sell it. Before I even thought I was going to go be an artist or anything like that, I was a business student. I worked in sales. I've managed many times. I was doing that for a while. And actually getting into tattooing was because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It wasn't my artistic side that, like, it would always be nice to make money off of art, but I wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah, you saw the business side of it.
Yeah, exactly. And art was where my skills were at, so that's where I thought I should focus. So I knew going into tattoos that I was going to have to sell them. I was going to have to build a brand and talk to marketing. That was the big thing, and that has helped. That might have helped more than becoming good at drawing. Honestly, the marketing was like number one. That's the difference between a tattoo artist and just a like a hobby tattooer, I guess.
Yeah, having that like foundation to build on. Yeah.
If like with tattoos, you can't just practice it. People have to want to let you tattoo them. Yeah. And so if you can't, you're not going to get any better.
Yeah.
I fell into like a bit of a spiral of people not wanting to get tattoos from me, so then I'm not getting any better. And then you get like demotivated, and then you don't book as many because you don't have a good attitude to people, and you're not as excited about it, and then you get less bookings.
Right.
And then you just kind of stagnate for a while. Winter was like that. Winter can be slow.
Yeah, I guess tattooing really, like, it comes in seasons. Like, there's times where people are like wanting you to book all the time, and then it's just nothing. How do you kind of deal with that wave?
You have to just become so busy it doesn't matter. There isn't like, everyone slows down at that time of year, except for the people who are always busy. The economy is always going to slow down at certain points and speed up at certain points. I'm an optimist. I like to think of this as like a cull. You know, if I can make it out of the tough times, when there is more money to go around, there's fewer competition.
Right.
That is true.
We're going to take our first little break here and check out what Lee is doing.
What, already? Yeah. How long was it?
I got a little minute. Yeah, it was all a minute.
I feel like this one was sooner than the last one.
It did kind of feel like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, was that? We're at 15 minutes?
Oh.
So you don't even have your eyes yet.
We don't have what?
I haven't have the eyes yet, but come check.
So I know as a tattoo artist, you're working a lot with flash designs. Which designs do you feel like balance that need for creativity, but also like commercial sales? Like, do you find that balance really hard to find?
It can be.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to enjoy what I'm creating, but I want to create something that will sell and that people will buy. And sometimes they don't do as well. Sometimes they do better. The more I am able to draw and more like I'm able to sell, I see trends in what I've done and what is working and what isn't. And then I can try to find out what within those trends I'd like to do creatively.
Right.
And it took a while of drawing flash to find something that people actually wanted in the first place. And then it was kind of honing it in from there, seeing how far I could stray from it and still have people book, and seeing like how much I could do the same subject over and over and it's be different enough that I enjoy it. Yeah, like Luna moths. I've tattooed 1 million Luna moths. So every time I've repeated a flash enough times that I'm sick of it, I'll draw a new one and then raise the price a little bit and book that one.
Nice. When you say draw a new one, are you just like repositioning it in ways, or are you completely reimagining it?
Like it's still gonna be a Luna moth. So yeah. And so there's some designs that I've done many of because I get tired of doing the same one over and over again.
Fair.
But I am kind of sick of doing Luna moths in general.
But
but I'll still do it. I'd rather do that than I don't know, a compass.
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot of circles. That's tough.
Yeah. Circles are tough. Circles suck. Circles and straight lines are very hard to draw.
Noted.
Yeah. How do you deal with the competitive nature of the tattoo industry?
As a competitive person, I feel like it's comes like I feel at home. I feel okay. I feel I like it. It pushes me. It motivates me. And it's nice to be able to have like very measurable ways to compare and like to strategize and measure my success and how it's going. Without competition, I feel like I would have a lot less direction and motivation.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it a lot of competition where it's like judgmental in ways, or do you find it's more of a welcoming environment?
I mean, people are very, very judgmental. Yeah. Yeah. Very judgmental.
People as in like people, your peers, or like clients?
Yeah, both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, and
That's
it's really hard when someone's judgmental about a tattoo because it's not just your art. It's attached to someone, and now you're also attacking their self-esteem.
Yeah.
So people, in general, keep to themselves. But like I mentioned earlier about the divide in the industry, there are people that only think a thick line will age well. And there are certain people that, look down at coil machines as like maybe less precise. Or
what's a coil machine?
Oh yeah. That's the more traditional, like old school machine. Okay. New technology is different. It's a rotary. It's quiet and small. And
more precise.
More precise. The old ones have a lot more power, and there's a lot more that goes into setting them up and tuning them or whatever.
So would it be harder to control?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's already harder than a paintbrush or a pen because it's like a thick piece of metal that's vibrating. Right. With a coil machine, it's a coil that's turning on and off and an electromagnet, so that's like a jackhammer.
Oh,
yeah, it's it's so loud. They're so loud. You go to a convention and you hear the buzzing. We went to one downtown and you could hear that from down 2 flights of escalators. You can hear the machines going.
So that must cause irreversible damage to your ears.
No, it's not that bad.
Not that.
No. It's not that loud. No,
yeah, it's not that close to your ear.
I mean,
it makes you anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like carpal tunnel, but like everyone. Yeah.
I feel like it'd hurt more if I could hear it like that
puncturing.
Yeah.
Oh, the stab.
Like that would stress me out if I was getting a tattoo, I think. Have you had any moments in your career where you were like, I made it, like I did it? And if you haven't, what would it take to get to that point, you think?
Yeah. So I feel like I have had a couple experiences like that, but I don't think I've I've fully realized what I want to accomplish as an artist. I don't know if we really ever do. The first time I felt like that was when I got my apprenticeship. Like, oh my gosh, someone is validation for my work and I can actually start pursuing this seriously.
First steps.
Yeah. Before that, it's just a dream.
Yeah.
And then, finishing the apprenticeship was cool. But I think when I started to be able to consistently book my own inquiries was nice. Walk-ins are cool because it's you get to tattoo. It's money. But when someone comes to you for your own style, that was very, very validating. That felt good. And when I was able to consistently book enough off of that to quit working in a restaurant and still pay rent, I think that was the transition. That made me feel, I can do it. I'm an artist now.
Yeah. Solidifies it.
That being said, I don't think I think I won't feel like an actual proper tattoo artist until I close my books. That'll feel like that's the next step for me. That's hard to do in this economy, at least for me. It's hard to book that far ahead that you can close your books. But your books as in not taking any clients for not
the year,
taking any more for however long. Like I'm booked 3 months out and I'll close my books or further than that, because there's always an uncertainty of if I don't book enough tattoos, I can't pay my rent.
Yeah.
So that will bring with it a peace of mind I don't think I've ever had before.
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like that reassurance that hey, you can actually pay rent continuously and not have to continue to work nonstop just to make the rent. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have an overarching dream that you'd want for your career?
Overarching dream, not in art. There are other mediums I'd like to pursue that I don't have the liberty to at the moment because I'm focusing on drawing and paying my bills that way.
Sure.
With tattoos, I when it comes to visual art, I am more comfortable and I enjoy three-dimensional better, carving and sculpting. That's what I actually enjoy most in visual art. And music, I really want to try a fair shot at music at some point. And I'd also like to publish a research paper at some point. I want to go do.
These are very diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different things I'd like to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to do those things. I'm kind of, if I never got more than I have now, I think I'd be pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. But time and money permitting, I want to pursue other disciplines. I think is the main point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
I think it's important to have that diversity too, because then you can bring that into everything else that you're doing in life. I do absolutely see pointillism working with sculpture and that kind of mindset where it's I don't know. I feel like pointillism works more with form. At least in my head, it works more with form, and translating that to like sculpture and carving, it just makes sense to me.
Yeah, maybe that's why I ended up drawing that way, because I was making sculptures before I was drawing, like, seriously. Yeah, and it makes a bit more sense to me. Drawing, I had to really learn the fundamentals of how it works. Mark making, sculpting comes a little bit more naturally. Yeah, or carving more specifically.
What kind of things are you carving? Like, are you carving into wood, or is it? Yeah,
wood. Okay. I'd like to do, like stone, marble. That'd be awesome.
You definitely need a big space for that.
Yeah, I switched from wood to drawing because wood itself was taking up. It's messy, too much space. The tools are like very expensive. It's a lot more challenging as a medium to like wrangle. When I'm drawing, I can fit everything I need in just a little box. And take it wherever I want. It's so convenient. It's the most convenient art form. That's why I chose it.
Yeah, I guess it is quite attainable. Yeah. It's accessible. Yeah, after singing.
Switching topics a bit, I wanted to ask you about work-life balance, because with creative jobs, it's very hard to know when to stop. I feel like, because there's no, I guess, strict structure. So I feel like it's a constantly running in your head. How do you kind of balance work, life, family?
Or do you?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that I've had many different jobs, and I think that I enjoy by far the best work-life balance I do now compared to all the other ones. That being said, when you're self-employed, that's kind of on you. Yeah. And I think for me, it came down to establishing like how many hours or days a week do I need for myself and my family, and how much am I willing to sacrifice to work. Because I've like a lot of us know what it's like to have to wait so long for your parents to come home to spend time with them.
Yeah.
So the fact that I can make my own schedule makes that easier. I think I'm very lucky in that way. I tattoo 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then I draw and do social media and admin work whenever. So when I do have like my family demands more time of me, I can work around that.
Right. I mean, you also have a daughter. So how do you deal with that pressure, that like being able to be with your daughter, and like there's just so much pressure involved with making a life and reliable and something that's stable. And I feel like none of those words are usually applied to tattooing.
Yeah. I think I figured out a lot of the parenting stuff before I figured out tattooing.
Right.
And so I kind of realized what level I needed my tattooing to be in order to also be a good father.
Okay.
And now it's pretty easy now, because I make my own schedule, of course.
Yeah.
When I was a mechanic and like teaching to myself to draw at the same time, and I had as a routine, I was very productive, but I was spending a lot less time with her, and I didn't have the flexibility to spend the time that I wanted to. Yeah. Whereas now I can, like, if I have her this week, I can like make my weeks where I don't have her much busier, so I can spend time. I can pick her up after school every day, spend a lot more time with her in the summer.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, I find it's pretty manageable.
Yeah, I guess having that foundation before you come into tattooing and like knowing what you want from it is really important in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
How would you feel if she went into tattoos?
Oh yeah, I'd like that. I think it's an enormous privilege to have a creative profession, and it is. Nepotism is not. No one likes nepotism unless you're benefiting from it. So I wouldn't want to create someone that is only known for like nepotism. I wouldn't want her to get opportunities that aren't earned. But if she wants to pursue it, then I would do everything in my power to help her to achieve that. Yeah. Because parents just want the best for their kids. Yeah. And I've working in a creative profession has given me so much in life, and I'd want that for her as well. So I think I'd enjoy that. There are uncertainties, but I think the fact that I've worked in there, it would be easier for her to transition into it than it was for me.
you know, you can have that like ground for her, and then she can build off it.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you were a tattoo artist, what were you working in?
So immediately before I was tattooing, I was working as a server at a restaurant. But I've had lots of different jobs before that.
Like what?
I went to work in a warehouse after high school at FedEx. And I was a package handler, and then a trainer, and then a manager. And I decided I didn't want to be in the corporate world or any of that.
Fair.
Then I went to work at a restaurant, which was the National Yacht Club. And then I served and bartended and then managed there, and didn't want to work in the restaurant industry anymore. So I went and got a mechanic apprenticeship, worked on heavy equipment.
Oh.
I was maintaining like aerial lifts and forklifts and those. And around then is when I decided I want to pursue tattooing. So I would draw on my breaks, and during lunch I'd do all my homework for drawing, and then, do my job. And I switched back to working in a restaurant because it was more flexible in the transition to tattooing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Did working within the trades kind of, I guess, because those are very like hands-on jobs, did that lend to kind of transitioning to the art career?
I think it did. I think a lot of skills I learned there applied a lot to tattooing. If I had if I'd skipped that step and left a restaurant or whatever I was working in before, I think the change of pace would have been a bit more difficult. The kind of like the nature of like having a craft, having something you're honing, a little project. That's what I like. When I was a mechanic, I was doing that. And when I first started there, it was a tough switch of like, okay, people are going to use this equipment. If I'm not careful, they could die and hurt themselves if it's not working properly. So I got to test everything. I have to take my time. There's no rush to make everything look the way it is. I would restore machines too. So I would sand them down and repaint them and place all the stickers very specifically, which actually lended itself to placing a stencil on tattoo. I'm very steady hand like that.
Oh, I would have never made that connection.
When placing a tiny sticker in between a bunch of buttons on a control box, because if they're not there, like then it's a health and safety violation, because you have to be able to see what the buttons do.
Right.
And it's hard to place it, so you put it on the tip of a little blade, and then or like something else, and then use that as your finger basically to put it in, because our fingers are chubby and not as dexterous.
Like a surgeon.
Yeah.
Almost.
So when I'm placing so when I'm placing a weird stencil in a specific place, it's easier for me to hold something and have the stencil on the end of it and just into place, rather than using my fingers.
I would have never expected that connection between that and like tattoo stenciling, because they don't really even teach you much about stenciling. They just like stick it on and hope for the best.
They didn't teach us too much.
I feel like the apprenticeship with tattoos is very I know you said it's not very structured, but coming in from that transition from like the more trades where it is so structured, how did you kind of deal with that?
I mean, when I was working in the trades, my mentor there was like one of the people I've respected most in my life. I learned a lot from him. Okay. And so it was kind of a stark contrast when I got to tattooing, but I kind of was able to take some of the lessons I learned previously about, patience and discipline and doing something properly instead of doing it more than once.
Right.
Doing it right the first time. Like, I carried a lot of those principles from my previous mentor. And to be fair, our mentor in tattoos taught us a lot in certain aspects. A lot of the sales stuff he gave was quite helpful. Yeah. That's what he did best. He was he was good at tattooing, but he was good at sales.
Tattoo shop too, right? Like it was fairly big at least.
Yeah, at one point he had
multiple locations at one point.
Yeah, but they closed.
It's tough to be an artist and a business person at the same time. Is. Like I feel like those two mentalities are very different, so it's hard to find those two things within one person. I wanted to ask, I know that you're an avid traveler, and like guest spotting has become more and more popular these days. So many artists come to Toronto. Is that something you think you'd want to pursue for yourself? Like go around tattooing around the world and stuff?
Yes, I'd very much like to. I've done one convention outside of home, and that was not my favorite thing. I'm probably not going to do a convention ever again. But guest spotting is a different story. You don't have to bring all your stuff. That I'd very much like to guest spot more.
Can you talk about the difference between the convention and guest spotting?
Oh yeah. So when it's your guest spotting, you find another shop that will take you. You just show up with your machine, and they provide everything else. Especially if you're coming from out of country, where it's hard to bring like fluids, ink, needles across the border.
Yeah.
So you just and then you tattoo at a convention. We have to bring your own beds, your own printer, your own ink, your own needles, your own lights, your own chairs, your own stools, your own armrests. Whoa. A million different disposable things because it's health and safety.
Of course, yeah.
And like your banner so people know where you are, like prints. It's so much more work. So much more work. And you're paying, like, it's usually more expensive as well to pay for a slot at a convention than just paying a guest spot at a shop.
Do you find more people go to the conventions though, or do you think that like the comfort of being in a shop is better?
So I'm not sure if I've been to enough conventions to speak with any authority on whether it's busier or not. But I think with the shift in the tattoo industry away from like biker culture to more mainstream,
right?
I don't think the mainstream tattoo clientele are necessarily going to the conventions. I do think the conventions are slowing down a little bit based on the one that, like the few that I've attended, they said it's been slower in recent years compared to pre-pandemic for sure.
Right.
And that's like, there's a big divide in the tattoo industry between like the new age people who are getting into it with the current level of technology and the more like very traditional biker culture kind of, old school tattoo artists.
Yeah. Okay.
So the answer you'd get would depend on like who you're talking to, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess what clientele you have.
Yeah. I don't really have people that would go to those getting tattooed by me. I get like people who like nature.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would go to a convention to get tattooed.
They're overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people.
And I don't know if I'd trust the health and safety. I know like it's apparently good, right? I guess you can't tell. I don't want you to like...
Not everywhere will give you a sink to wash your hands. That's what I'll say.
That's kind of nasty.
Which is, you'd think that would be standard.
You would think, you would hope at least.
Yeah. But I don't know. We're this side of like in Canada, we're pretty on top of health and safety, I'd say. I've gotten tattooed in other countries. It's not. I think we're a bit overboard here in certain aspects. So like people can get away with like using hand sanitizer instead of washing their hands fully. It doesn't sound good, but like some people aren't rewrapping their machine for every tattoo, or aren't or putting their station next to their ink supply. If you get something in your ink, you can go to prison forever if you're not careful.
What? Yeah. Wait, what?
On the first day I met my tattoo mentor, he told us about an artist at a shop that I shouldn't name, that was reusing ink caps. You're not supposed to refill them because there's a possibility the contaminants, the little bits of blood that are in there, will get into your ink supply.
Right.
So he did that, and HIV got into his ink supply, and he gave like 20 people HIV, and then got prosecuted for every single one and is spending the rest of his life in prison.
Yeah. Trust your tattoo artist.
Do your research. Yeah.
And that's here.
Yeah, that is scary.
Like I got tattooed in Greece. It was it was fine. It healed fine, but they very different health and safety different procedure, I guess. Yeah. Different way of doing things that I didn't quite understand. Certain things they were more specific about. But no one's checking. So just do the tattoo and say goodbye. That's it.
Yeah. Speaking of, I guess, travel tattooing, since I've noticed this, I guess when we went to the convention, like different areas have different styles that they kind of specialize in. Like I feel like Toronto is very grayscale, like realism forward. Do you think it'll be difficult to find, I guess, clientele when you do travel, since they all have their own interests?
So that's like a business question for me. It would it would depend on the size of the market that I'm traveling to. Okay. So any major city, 100% I'll be able to find people that want my tattoos because there are enough people living there. If I go to Nashville, I'd probably be okay. That's a bit smaller. If I was to go to Dubai, maybe like it's a huge city, but less because like tattooing isn't as big cultural there.
The market's
a lot of people for religious reasons don't enjoy tattoos. That's a big factor. So as long as I'm sticking to major cities, should be fine. Another factor is the different health and safety standards of where you go. There's one state in the U.S. where you have to pass a test in order to tattoo. By a recognized school. I think it's Oregon or Washington, one of those West Coast states.
I didn't know that.
More you know. Like France is also a bit more strict than the other cities. But if you go to if you just go to a shop and tattoo and leave, like they might not check. Like you're probably okay anywhere you go.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, you can be sneaky. Like there's a lot of illegal shops all over the place. It'd be really hard to do that in Japan or South Korea, though.
Go underground.
It's already like illegal there. Yeah. So.
I mean, that's what makes it fun. You got to figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
Talk to the right people.
Exactly. You got to have those connections.
I'd like to travel tattoo like profitably if I can, or at least like break even. Yeah. Like taking trips is nice, but taking trips that don't cost money is really, really nice.
Of course.
Can do it again.
Yeah.
But it's also opportunity costs here. Like I'm giving up time that I could have been making money here. I'm still paying rent here. Yeah,
so. That is true. People forget about that. And you also, are you currently paying for a chair or are you, so you would also be paying for that.
Exactly.
Okay. Actually, do you want to describe that a bit? Because I don't know if many people really understand that situation.
It's similar to barbers.
Yeah.
There's basically two different systems. You either pay a commission, so a percentage of what you charge, or you'll pay a flat rate for your booth, basically.
Yeah. And this is just so that you have a studio, so you're under one name and you have somewhere to tattoo.
Yeah, this is an affiliation with the studio, usually. Or your own studio where you'll just pay rent and have your own setup.
Okay.
Or tattoo at home. That's another thing. If you're starting out, it's almost always you start with percent. And then you work up from there, because if you don't have any... It's hard to commit to paying a bunch of money every month when you don't even have clientele yet, when you're still working your way up.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if you're a mentor with an apprentice that you just graduated, you usually keep them on percent for a while, because it's more profitable for the mentor if you're getting a percentage of the tattoos someone does.
And it does feel less daunting, like you're saying. It's less of an investment for the artist. Yeah.
For instance, if I traveled and I was on a percentage system, I'm not missing out on anything.
Right.
That's
because
true.
I'm not like, if I'm charging $0 here, I'm paying 70% of zero or 50% of zero.
Right.
Whereas if I'm still paying for the chair in my situation now.
Right. So it's just different goals, really.
Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You guys rent spaces for your painting sometimes, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a controversial...
Is it?
Really?
Like, do you mean to display your paintings or to like studios to work on your paintings? Because those are two very different things.
I think for displaying,
Yeah.
That's what I've been more curious about, because...
I mean, it's controversial because it's seen as nobody wants to work with you, so you have to display your own work. Right?
Oh, interesting.
That's how I've been, that's how it's been described to me before. Whether or not like curators are actually paying attention to that, or if you just like don't make it public that you're the one renting the space and like putting on the show, I think you can get away with it, but it can be kind of daunting and not really worth it when you look at the long run. Yeah.
It's kind of like you have to buy your way in.
Kind of, yeah.
Like a spot.
People look at it differently.
I see.
It is gatekeeping, I will say that.
Our art tends to be, I think.
It is, yeah.
So we're going to take another break here. We wanted to do a little skill test to test the steadiness of your tattoo hand. So let's go do that. So we have some circles here that we are going to get you to trace. And we have this fun little gadget. This is from our apprentice days. It's basically a lead pencil with like 2 bolts strapped to it to give it some weight. And then the lead is sticking out maybe like 5 millimeters to make it super easily breakable. So just do your best to trace these circles and we'll see how steady your hand is.
Okay.
We made it even harder for you because it's an uneven surface.
That's okay. People are not even.
That is a good point. So is there a technique to starting?
No, there's no technique to any of this. Any of tattoo, It is, don't go too deep.
Okay.
But don't go not deep enough. And don't go too slow. But also don't go too fast.
That's confusing.
If you go too fast, it'll just look like dots. It won't look like a line. And if you go too slow, it'll deposit too much ink in the skin and it'll expand underneath the skin. And we call that a blowout.
So is this kind of the routine that you guys had when you were doing your apprenticeship?
They asked us to do these and then never checked if we did them.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Another example of that standardization.
Oh my God, this is not good. Oh my God. I'm embarrassed.
When was the last time you did one of these?
2.5 years.
Okay. I feel like that's a good excuse. The lead's not snapped yet, so. Yeah.
No, it's not going to snap. I'm just focusing on keeping everything straight.
You're also talking while doing this, so like I feel like
I
that's
talk
hard
when I
too.
tattoo. When I don't talk when I'm tattooing is because I'm thinking.
Okay.
This I don't have to think. Like it's a circle.
Right.
If I have a complicated stencil and I'm trying to do the textures of something that is a little bit less than obvious, I'll have to like think about how I'm going to portray it and how I'm going to translate it to the skin.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of decision making before I even put the needle on the skin of how I'm going to approach it, which angle I'm going to put my arm or my hand or my body in order to create whatever I'm trying to do. But I don't run into that much when I'm doing flash. I draw all my flash on paper beforehand. So all the motor skills, I mean, like the muscle memory is already kind of there. I've already like done all the thinking, so I can just go and I can chat when I'm doing a flash work. If I'm doing something custom and I'm not sure how I'm going to approach something, then I'm not going to talk much.
Right, because you're in the midst of that problem solving, which, I mean, that's something we had talked about with some of our past guests, is that art really involves a lot of problem solving and people don't really think of that aspect often.
Yeah. I think I saw an interview with Paul Booth, a very famous tattoo artist. And he said the biggest thing to learn when like of whether you're a good tattoo artist or not is how do you cover up and hide your mistakes, because they are going to happen one way or another. But are you able to adjust on the fly and sneak it into your composition in a way that it isn't noticeable? Like most specifically when we're talking about mistakes, we're talking about a blowout, which is when you go too deep.
Okay.
You go into the fat layer beneath the skin and the ink spreads out underneath that and it creates kind of like a blurry blob.
Oh.
So it obscures what you're trying to do kind of.
Would it be like a enlarged blurry blob then?
Yeah. Like think of a dot and then think of a dot that has like a haze around it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the intention with this lead pencil here and training is you stick it out really, really far so that it's easy to break when you're doing the drawing. And if it breaks, that means you went too deep. And if you go too deep, you're making an irreparable like blowout on someone's skin. I mean, they could laser it, but
it's never going to be like as crisp as if you were wanting it.
You could scar them and then like the ink's gone, but the scar's still there. I've seen that on people.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
So how would you fix a blowout or work around?
Not.
But you're saying
it's there forever, so you have to hide it.
How do you hide it? Just like build up the composition?
If it's in something that's why circles are hard. If there's something wrong with a circle, you can see it instantly because it's like everyone knows what a circle looks like. If I'm doing like an animal with fur and there's a blowout in the fur, I can hide that in the texture with like other kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I guess that is a good point. The straight lines, very fine.
Straight lines, perfect. Someone just wanted one perfectly straight line down the center of their body. That'd be so unbelievably hard.
I feel like Alec wanted that. Yeah.
It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's hard to place a stencil. The body isn't even symmetrical. Sometimes I can tell when someone has scoliosis because
that's interesting.
I'm just used to trying to place a moth on the sternum and it just doesn't look right because they have scoliosis and their ribs aren't even.
Have you ever diagnosed people? Like not obviously
not
officially. Not
diagnosed, but I've been like, do you have it? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
what about people with like the concaved ribs? Rib cage.
I've tattooed some interesting bodies. Yeah, sure. I don't think I've diagnosed anything. I'm not sure if that's expected of me.
I wouldn't assume so, no. But I'm sure like some people don't really realize that.
Okay, I'm just slowly putting less and less effort into this.
I feel like a lot of people, when they get tattoos, they don't realize that they're unsymmetrical.
Yeah.
Because, like when you're just looking from far away, you're like, yeah, that's, I'm symmetrical.
Yeah.
But like when you like put two things beside each other that are supposed to be on the same spot, it really points out like all the little
now you got me so conscious.
I meant like usually it happens when you put like two
on
things.
your ribs.
Yeah, like ribs are tough.
Oh yeah.
And like above the knees are tough as well because there's so much movement.
Right.
But you just kind of like gently explain, be like, hey, like this is normal. It's never going to be perfect because a body is not perfect, You drew those quite quickly.
Yeah.
So
I could have taken my time and done them better, but that's okay.
How long would it generally take to do at least a stencil?
Oh, sometimes it can take hours. It depends on the complexity of what you're stenciling and like where on the body it is. Like I said, if you're trying to line something up with a center line on the body, then it might take multiple tries. The longest I spent was like I think 3 hours on stencils. It was 2 mandalas on a guy's knees.
Oh, and keeping it symmetrical.
Yeah, getting the first one lined up nice was difficult, but he was against lotion. What? He hadn't moisturized his body since he was a child. He had very dry skin. It was
against lotion.
Yeah.
That's such a tame way to say it.
Yeah, so
interesting
that's
take.
it. There you go.
So how do you feel?
I don't feel that good about them, but I mean, the circumstances limited me.
Yeah, you know what? That's better than I could do. I've like coffee shakes.
I don't want to look at it.
That upset.
I'm not upset. I'm just,
You're very critical of yourself.
You're like Lee.
Circles are so hard. I haven't tattooed a circle in a long time.
You like me but half white.
Yeah, you're like me but half Chinese. But full Chinese. Full Chinese.
Well, good job on your little test.
Thanks.
It's tough with circles. I feel like there's no like good place to stop and start again. Especially like with the lead pencil. Since it's like a flat top, it's not like a tattoo needle comes to a point, so you can kind of like lift off, so it's thinner. Then when you rejoin, you can kind of blend that connection a bit better. But I think your best one is this one, the middle
medium
one.
size.
Yeah.
If I was to be doing this as well as I could, I would have taken maybe 3-4 times as long, and I would have been moving around the table and changing my body position like over and over.
Would you just change the board, or
That's I mean I could have. Yeah, that makes more logical sense from an illustrator's perspective. But I'm used to moving because I'm not used to moving the person
That's
I'm
true.
tattooing.
You can't move the canvas. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, from my perspective, it looks good. So good job.
Okay, so I feel like there are so many opinions on tattoos and tattooing. Like if you scrolled on like any comment section on an Instagram post of a tattoo, you'd see like some crazy stuff. So we wanted to get some of your hot takes and opinions on some tattoo things. Is there a style or subject matter that you just don't care to tattoo ever?
To tattoo personally.
Yeah.
Most of them. I like doing my style, my drawings. Anything outside of that, I think I'm pretty likely to say goes to someone else.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like if you want me to tattoo like a pocket watch, unless I'm really know you and like we're friends, I'm probably not gonna do it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the artists that just kind of take on anything?
Gotta eat,
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like, at least in the art world, there is so much judgment on what you produce. So I don't know if that really translates to like the tattoo world, where like everyone's kind of judging everything that you make and trying to place you into a certain box.
Yeah. The weird thing about tattoos is you could do like a huge project, a major sale, and no one sees it.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Like we get to pick what everyone sees. We choose what we post.
Yeah, you get to curate your
you get
Instagram.
To exactly. So like some people, what they post might only make up like less than 0.5% of what they're doing, what they're creating. What they actually like make a lot of money on is furry drawings, but they don't want people to know that, so they're not going to post about it necessarily. Or you'll want to pursue a different style than what you're known for, so you'll like remove all of. We had a artist at our shop that did that removed all of his traditional tattoos because he didn't want to do traditional stuff anymore, and only left the stuff that's in the new style and started posting other things. So you don't necessarily get pigeonholed as much when you can control the narrative, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I feel like as a lot of artists too, if they work in a walk-in shop, like you don't really get to choose what comes in and what they want. But you know, you got to make a living, and you just post your flash and then hope that it does well enough that it kind of counters all the walk-in stuff that you take in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes you get a walk-in and you do a tattoo and you post that tattoo, and now everyone wants that, but you never wanted to do it. You just want to get you did it because you're trying to get paid, and now you're if you let that happen and you run with it, you might end up in an entire like niche that doesn't really interest you necessarily. But you know what's important is to continue creating.
What kind of tattoos is a red flag?
It depends on the
okay, well that's different kind of red flag, but
it depends on the beholder. There's certain people that's very welcomed in certain circles. There's like a general public perception, but then that changes culture to culture, place to place.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, our canvases are people's bodies, and I'm a big believer of like it's your body, it's your choice. So So would you like a dog whistle per se? Would you tattoo something on somebody if it wasn't directly fascist or that like
kind of movement?
I obviously like symbols of hate, of course I wouldn't tattoo,
of course,
but I think a lot of cultural appropriation happens in the world of tattoo, and that makes me uncomfortable. I have Polynesian heritage, and we have like I'm not very good at that style. That's not my style. But it does like make me feel a little weird when I see like people who have no understanding or respect for the culture getting those kinds of tattoos. Every little piece of the pattern has a very specific meaning to it. So it's it kind of whitewashes all the history. And people just same with like Japanese traditional tattoos. There's very, very strong rich culture behind that and rules behind what constitutes actual traditional Japanese tattoos, and someone who is just into that style.
That's a good note.
As much as I'm against gatekeeping and I'm for the fusion of those styles, but I think that if you're not going for like a fusion or to push the boundaries, and you're just like, oh, I just like this. This
just looks cool.
Looks cool without doing the research. I think that if you get scrutiny, it's deserved.
Completely.
I feel like a red flag tattoo are like couples, like names. How do you feel about that?
So my policy on couples names for the longest time was I always do them because I know they're going to come back to get it covered up. It's like a guaranteed repeat sale.
Nice.
Yeah. Now I just don't really do script. I don't like to do script. If it's a family or something and they ask me, I'm like, okay, have Cass do it. I don't know. I don't want to
throw it to Cass.
I'll do it and it'll be so crispy.
I'll turn down something if it's your first tattoo and you want it on your hand or your face.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing that I'll turn down. That being said, if someone wants something really bad and you turn them down, someone's going to take their money. When we were at the convention, there was a guy that specialized in pixelated hentai tattoos.
Oh my God, yeah.
Full color, blocks of color, like pixelated. Some of his looks pixelated, like they drew squares on this person. Or some of them graphic,
Yeah,
there's something for everybody, you know? Like,
very
it's crazy.
True. I would not choose that for myself.
We have a guy that he does the lip in here.
Oh,
he does this area.
Isn't that like cattle branding? Is that what it was? Where it started?
I didn't know that.
I thought it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
I think so. I think you're right, actually.
Yeah.
Gotta look that up later.
Yeah. I have some clients that wanted that, and when I don't want to do something, but they're in front of me, I just raise the price a lot.
Smart.
Because then it, like, everyone has a price. I'll tattoo your feet for a price. But I don't want to.
That's a good point. What parts would you absolutely never tattoo?
I mean, there's a price for everything. I don't like to tattoo feet. I definitely don't want to be like near any genitalia or like nipples.
Do you get that a lot?
No. Nowadays, like my clientele is pretty normal now. I had some swinger couple that wanted me to. Yeah, it was just family. I tattooed.
Family.
Yeah. So the daughter was the first one that came and got tattooed. I tattooed her hand.
I thought you were going to say something else. Okay.
And then she brought her dad, and I tattooed the dad's neck. And then he brought in his wife, and I tattooed his wife's hand.
Okay.
And then he texts me like a few days later. He's like, "Hey, you want to tattoo my wife's tits?"
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm like, and I just didn't really reply. I wasn't, and that's how I realized that's where I probably draw the line.
Very uncomfortable.
I do it for like hundreds, maybe 500 an hour. Because I'd be silly at a certain point. It'd be silly to leave that money on the table, you know.
Oh. Interesting take.
Yeah.
If you could only tattoo one subject matter for the rest of your career, what would it be? And you can't just say Flash.
Yeah. Well, my clever answer is something that people will continue to want to get tattooed. Whatever will guarantee me business forever. I'll choose that because I'd rather that than, have creative freedom if it's already going to be stifled anyway.
Sure.
But I think if I was to choose something that I like to draw that I could draw forever, I would just choose bugs.
Yeah.
Like the tattoo bugs. There's so many different kinds of bugs, and I can do them really quickly. I could do them big if I wanted.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what sizes do you prefer? Like, do you like doing like statement pieces or just like little tiny tattoos?
I used to want to do big tattoos all the time because I made more money.
Yeah, of course.
And then I realized if I can charge a lot for a small tattoo, I'm making more money per hour. Which is nice. More. Yeah. But by and large, bigger tattoos means bigger money. But also bigger hand hurts. So I don't.
True.
I guess my preferred scale is hand to half sleeve size. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't.
And that's purely based on money. Like you don't have a preference for like the design itself.
I think where I'm at in my career now is that's the scale that I think I'm trying to make that my average.
Okay.
I don't think I'm ready yet to be doing back pieces every day. Yeah. But I think I don't want to just be doing palm size tattoos. That's how we measure sometimes. You want it palm sized or hand size?
Yeah, people don't really know what inches are sometimes.
No.
It's just easier to visualize with your own hand.
It's funny that we use inches anyways in Canada, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
I use inches because that's what I used when I was a mechanic.
Yeah.
I used centimeters before that.
I mean, in the art world, we use inches too. I don't know why.
Yeah, with like canvases and
I guess because like America is the goal, so you want to start with inches.
I thought it was just like culture.
It could be cultural too.
We use that for so long, haven't removed it from our vernacular.
Yeah.
Like how many pounds are you? You know how many kilograms you weigh?
I do not.
I don't.
I couldn't tell you at all.
How many stone?
Yeah.
How do you feel about tattoo schools? I feel like those have kind of shown up more and more recently because there are so many people trying to get into the industry that the schools have started popping up.
Yeah, that's a hot take. That's tattoo schools, unless you're in a part of the world where there is an institution like that is like overseeing it, like in that one, I don't know which state it is, Oregon or Washington, that like you have to go to a school there and pass a test to be able to practice as a tattoo artist. Unless that's the case, it's a scam. It's a waste of money. Yeah, not a single tattoo artist I've talked to ever has attended one of those. Zero.
Really?
Yep, zero.
Like working tattoo artists, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Any even non-working tattoo artists,
Is it because it's a fairly new kind of avenue to go through, or is it just like it's not making the kind of tattoo artists that actually succeed?
That's not the path into the industry.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
If you're gonna spend money, spend it getting tattoos and getting advice from an artist. That's how you get into the industry. If you want to just buy your way in, get lots of tattoos from someone, get advice from them. If you want a tattoo school, they're just going to take your money and then not hire you afterwards. Yeah.
How do you feel about tattoo artists without tattoos?
We had one at our old shop. Okay. He was a model as was his other job.
Sure. And
he was good. He still tattoos. He's a good artist. He's fine. He's heavy-handed. So it hurts when he tattoos a bit more than he was more heavy-handed than any other person has tattooed me. It was on a sensitive area. It's in my arm here. So like it helps to like if you have tattoos to know what you're doing to people.
Yeah.
But like this is more gatekeeping. Like do you make tattoos? Do people want tattoos from you? You're a tattoo artist. If you'd like, I don't know. Does your makeup artist have to have a full face of makeup on when they do your makeup? You know, how many barbers are bald?
Call them all out.
Yeah, it's just gatekeeping.
Yeah, I do feel like that whole industry, like not even just tattoos, also art, it's very gatekeepy, and there's a lot of kind of unspoken rules that you have to figure out as you're going, which is really challenging.
Especially when your mentor or whoever you're talking to, because there's no rules, they'll make up theirs and try to make you adhere to them. Or manipulate you.
Which, I mean, being freelance contract, I guess all of us are the same position. You get taken advantage of a lot. What kind of experiences have you had that you feel comfortable sharing?
No, people just so you get taken advantage of most by friends and family. People, strangers are like, they show up on time, they give you deposits, they pay you what you ask. When it's friends and family, they're going to expect a family discount. They're going to expect you to do 1 million drawings for them of designs to see if they like it before they give you a cent. They'll get insulted if you ask for a deposit because it's like, oh, you know me, but like if you, there's no stake for you, you might just not show up if you don't, if there's no deposit. It's which is sad that it comes from the people that you're closest with. But you figure out ways to mitigate those things. I don't put something in my calendar unless I have a deposit.
That's a good way to go about it.
Well, at first I wasn't busy enough to do that. I was like, I didn't want to ask for deposit and then they don't book because they aren't ready for that. But if they weren't going to give me a deposit, they probably weren't serious anyway in hindsight. But there's a lot of people taking advantage of each other. That being said, there's a lot of trust involved in tattooing. And when someone's permanently altering your body, you should trust them and you shouldn't mess with them because they could. Our mentor told us about a guy who tattooed his brother-in-law who he hated him, and he was doing a big piece here and he didn't let him see it during the tattoo, and he's like, oh, it's going up into my neck now. He's like, don't worry about it. And then when he went to the mirror to go see, he had tattooed a giant ejaculating penis.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so vindictive.
Yeah, he got fired. He's gone.
I mean, good.
Yeah, it's wild. No rules in the industry.
Maybe
people do whatever they want. Maybe.
Yeah. When you get your own tattoos, what do you look for in an artist?
So that's the nice thing about Instagram. You can see someone's work. So I look at their work. If hopefully they have a healed highlight, so you know what their healed work looks like. You want to see their healed work. You want to see if there's a variety of if your skin tone is represented on their Instagram. If you have darker skin and this person only tattoos the palest of like basement dwellers, then it's that they might not have the easiest time recreating something on your skin. And ultimately it comes down to personal taste though. Like I'll find an artist that I look up to tattoo me. You want to know my tattoo hot take? I came up with one. I'm not against the use of AI art in the process.
Oh, that is a very hot take. Specifically in tattoo art or just AI art in general?
In general, yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get some comments on that.
You can tell when it's AI art, right?
You can definitely
usually
tell.
Not always, but usually.
So how does that translate with tattoos?
Because they have that sometimes style. People just type in a prompt and print and then just use that as their stencil and then just
like with the highlight and
don't
everything?
Even draw something. They just with those messed up fingers they'll tattoo that with the disconnected filigree. They'll tattoo that. They'll just do it. Some people will use it as a reference. So there's something that's outlandish that they'll use that as part of it. Some people will just use that as like a bunch of references to put together and to create their art. But I think it again, it's gatekeepy to dismiss an entirely new tool that's available to us.
I feel like it is definitely a tool. I think the line is when you don't know where the photos are being generated from, like what practice they're being produced from, and you know what credit they have. And then also there's a fine line between using it as a tool and then like just
replacing the artist.
Yeah, just completely replacing the artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are like tattoo printers now too, like those robots.
Oh, are
you
there?
don't have to worry about them. You don't have to worry about those guys.
Yeah, I feel like people go to artists because they want that kind of connection. Like it just feels so cold and disingenuous if you're going to a machine.
Yeah. When it comes to tattoo machine, I don't believe the technology will be there for a very, very, very long time.
Okay.
It's too many factors to control when making a tattoo.
Sure.
It'd be hard for a machine to do that on like a flat thing. Like doing it on a three-dimensional person, and every person is different.
True.
Like the depth of how deep to go to make the tattoo look good on your here versus here versus here. Like just even a few inches apart here is different. Like there's too much going on for it to actually take hold until it's more economically like feasible. It's not, like even when it does exist, it won't take hold.
Yeah. Well, we're reaching the end of Lee's portrait, so
I'm
I think
excited to see it.
go check it out. Maybe you can come show us.
Wow.
How do you feel about it?
That's so cool. You did a great job. I love you.
Again, Lee, how do you feel about it?
I was talking to my portrait.
Oh,
I think it's okay.
same as last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this time I felt the time is shorter for some reason.
I think you did really great with the time you had, though.
Thanks, Lee.
It's also the first male guest.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like the eyes area. I feel like it's
rendered
pretty
really well.
accurate.
Thanks.
And the hair again.
Yeah.
You have no tattoo here.
I know.
That's a sign.
What a shame.
I don't know if I'll do hands, neck, face.
Hmm.
If I hit 100 million, I'll do my face.
That's the goal. You hear it here.
No, but neck here is.
I'd do side of the neck. I don't think throat. That would maybe eventually, but eyeball.
When everything else is covered, you have to do a throat tattoo.
Yeah, I want to fill up my arms, my back, my legs, my chest first. Maybe
Fair.
my stomach too.
Oh.
Yeah, get my own face on my knuckles.
Don't do that.
I would maybe get my eyes tattooed on my eyes, so when I close my eyes, you can't tell.
I feel like
Eyes.
maybe stop talking.
But that's enough ideas. Thank
Yeah,
you.
You're gonna like downgrade your
Some people
status
do
as a tattoo artist.
like permanent scrapes or bruises.
Oh.
That,
Yeah,
uh,
it's art.
I don't know how I feel about that one, but
But it makes you feel something.
sure, yes, it does. You're right.
Me,
Yeah.
it's disgust. I'm not a fan of those.
Yeah,
I don't like them. They make me uncomfortable.
I think that's a fair thing to say.
Well, that's the end of our episode of the Gathered Arts Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on to our
Thank you
show.
for having me. It was
sharing
a
your
pleasure.
experiences.
I learned a lot, Kyle. Thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to take a moment to share your Instagram and if you have any upcoming projects or flash designs to look forward to?
Nope.
Nothing.
What's your Instagram?
KHK.TTT.
KHK.TTT.
Yes, that's my Instagram. You can follow me there. Yeah, if you want to look at my art, go there. Yeah, I have, since I've found a way to sell my art consistently, I have been a lot less into the in-person sales. I don't bring it up when I talk to someone in public, really, because I don't want to talk about work usually. This is different. But yeah, I don't really go that hard with the sell in person anymore.
You rely on parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is where we try to sell ourselves. If you want to follow CLK, you can find us on Instagram at clk.do.
I don't know how to do K.
Okay. And then you can find us on clkco.ca as well. Thanks again for listening and for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Good job, Lee.
Thanks.
That's your face.
Yeah, it's so flattering.
I feel like you did really well today.
Send a picture to your mom.